welcome to my weekly live stream, Smell It Sunday. That's what it's called. That's what it's called. And I put together, I think, quite a nice little treat for us today. You know, I was just, hours ago on social media, and someone had posted a question that seems simple enough, but it really got my wheels turning. They wanted to explore new Christmas tree candle ideas. And I thought, wow, that's just a great idea for a live stream. So I went through my collection, my Yankee Candle collection, or what I call the Yankee Candle archives. And I've selected some oldies, some of days past, and then some contemporary candles, some that you probably know, and maybe some that you have never seen. So I'm excited to jump right in to today's little live stream. I'm going to pull you folks up because, let's face it, that's always the first step. And a little bit of business before we get going. The Candle Enthusiast mugs, the Christmas mugs. I've heard from you folks, several of you folks. I had a few lying around, and you emailed me and said, hey, is there any chance I can get one? I'm like, well, I have 5. So I heard a lot from a lot of you folks. I haven't reached out to you yet. So I wanted to propose an idea of doing maybe a second run. So there's a few more, or maybe throwing together a cool new idea. But regardless, if you want a Candle Enthusiast mug with my mug right there on the front, Aromatic Adventures, got to include Aromatic Adventures, and then Santa Claus. Email me. That's going to be candleenthusiast@yahoo.com. Just email me like, hey, mug in the attention or the subject header. And depending on how many people hear from, maybe this is a good idea. Maybe getting some mugs this year will be a festive thing. And usually the turnaround to get these things printed isn't that long, so we could probably have them shipped out in no time at all. Let's do it. And Virgil, I did get your email, and Virgil was inquiring about a mug. And Virgil cannot join us today because he's at work. Well, that's okay. That's okay. So while I get started doing my thing, why don't you guys in the chat area share which Yankee Candle Christmas tree themed candle that is special to you. It doesn't have to be your favorite. Which one is really special to you? Maybe which is one that you can no longer get, so you save, or one that, let's say was your mother or father's or one of your grandparents' favorites, so it has an extra special meaning to you. And if it's not a Yankee Candle, that's fine. Just include the producer in your comment in the chat area. Let's get this started. All right. The question is where really to begin, because we want to tell the story a little bit. I think I got an idea. Okay, so there's no surprise. Yankee Candles, Balsam and Cedar. I'm always saying this. I hope I'm correct, but I've heard it said by many folks that this is the highest, the most popular selling candle in the world. It's sold the most, and it seems to be Yankee Candle's treasure when it comes to the holiday season every year. And what's ironic about that is Balsam and Cedar is really not that old. When we talk about other Yankee Candle classics, the scents, right? Like Midsummer's Night, or even the Halloweens like Witch's Brew. Virgil, the $20 super chat. Thank you so much, buddy. Everyone have an enthusiastic Thanksgiving. That's really nice of you, and you do as well. You have an amazing Thanksgiving as well. Appreciate Virgil. He's always got my back. Balsam and Cedar, yeah, it used to be available year-round in Yankee Candle stores. It's just a popular scent. Let's face it. The reason why this candle is so successful is no mystery. It's incredibly intense. It's incredibly nostalgic, and it's incredibly authentic. And that really covers all of the bases, right? Like maybe there's a few other bases, but that's for the most part what we're looking for in a typical Yankee Candle. Balsam and Cedar was released in 2004. 2004. That's not old. I was saying before, Midsummer's Night, things like Spiced Apple and Macintosh. We're talking 80s here. Midsummer's Night was 1983, 2004. So it's probably one of only a few of a quite young Yankee Candle classic, right? There's no true definitions for these things. So I started with Balsam and Cedar because Yankee Candle must have had, uh, a Christmas tree themed candle before Balsam and Cedar, right? Yes, they did. Many, many. I'm sure there's many that I've never even heard of. And I've looked around quite a bit. I've done my research over the past 12, 15 years when it comes to Yankee candles, especially when it comes to Christmas. But one candle that was really popular that predated Balsam and Cedar, and it kind of seemingly, you'll see what I mean. It made a transition, a very clear transition, clean transition, because Balsam and Fur disappeared, Balsam and Cedar um, uh, then came to be, right? So folks who are already fans of the Balsam and Fur, they probably just picked this one up thinking it was the same thing. But Balsam Fir was around. It went away and came back quite a bit. And from what I can tell, the aroma changed over the years. The recipe, always, of course. I mean, it's a Christmas tree, right? Always driven by the sweet, sappy needles and the pine cone resinous smells, and of course that beautiful smell of cedar or split wood, pine tree, call it what you will. But let's take a sniff at this Balsam and Fur. Since it predates Balsam and Cedar, let's see what we're going on here. Now, how old is this? This is not that old. This is a black band Balsam Fir, but it's a 2001. I don't know why I'm showing you the label again. I don't have a full jar of this. I have a large jar, but it's not full. Yeah. Mm. You know, to me, this is actually a lot more similar to Mistletoe, Yankee Candle's Mistletoe. And that is interesting because Mistletoe is one of those Christmas candles that's been around for Yankee for quite a bit. I'm trying to think. I don't know if it went to the 80s, but let's say early 90s for sure. And what I mean, what is different? What's the difference between Mistletoe and Balsam and Cedar? Well, it's not as sweet. It's more tangy. Balsam and Cedar, you may not think sweet when you just kind of recall Balsam and Cedar, but when you smell it, it actually does have a lot of sweetness, perceived sweetness to the fragrance. Despite it having tons of other spicy herbal and fresh floral and even fruity notes that are coming through on that Balsam and Cedar. But it is very sweet. This is not. This has more of a tang to it, kind of a sharpness. And man, this is an old candle. This is an old candle, that's for sure. And it's typical of candles in this genre, the pine tree genre. They don't really age that well. That's kind of sad, but it's true. They don't. It's not that they become spoiled, but they change a lot. Where others kind of become muted sometimes. Sometimes certain nuances of candles will just disappear. But it seems there's something about the recipe of a traditional Yankee Candle Christmas tree fragrance that actually does. You can smell age on it. But the thing is, what's crazy is because what's funny is that I've been collecting these so long that I've actually grown really fond of the older pine tree Yankee candles. I mean, it doesn't smell bad. I mean, honestly, what it smells like is you're going through a really old box of Christmas decorations. Like maybe you're cleaning out your grandma's basement. She calls you up and says, we're gonna get flooded. We got to clean up this basement, so we gotta move all the decorations. And down in the basement, you find a box of Christmas decorations that hasn't really been used for decades. And then you open it up, and inside, there's all of these things, like maybe garlands, like real pine garlands, little Christmas wreaths, just maybe some twigs and branches and some pine needles that have fallen into that box the last Christmas that it was used. And those remnants of the Christmas tree have sat in that box. Maybe there's a pine scented candle, like a taper candle in that box. My point is, when I smell this, the emotion that it triggers, the nostalgia that comes to the forefront is vintage Christmas decorations. Because I think I feel like I feel like I'm going through some old stuff, Maybe there's some old Christmas cards in there, maybe a little choo-choo train set underneath the tree, and it just has the residual smell of all of the many Christmases that resided underneath the Christmas tree. Uh, but if you're having a difficult time understanding that, just think of, that Christmas wreath that you throw out in the garbage in January. It's always a sad day, but you got to do it. The Christmas tree, the Christmas wreath, the Christmas garland goes in the trash. But what if you just said, nah, I'm not doing it yet. I'll get to it, but not yet. Maybe there was a blizzard and it was just not feasible to clean up your exterior Christmas wreaths that are outside. I'm trying to make this work. My point is, imagine instead of throwing away that Christmas wreath in January, you threw it away like middle or end of March. Well, we could do March. I was going to say February, but it just has more time to dry out, die, but dry out. And all of those aromas become concentrated. All of the fresh notes seem to subside, and the austere, kind of richer, more organic notes, the wooden notes, the sappy notes, uh, really start to blossom. So yeah, I think if you try to imagine an old Christmas tree that's really dried out, it's not a horrible smell. It's a wonderful smell. And it, at least for me, is very nostalgic. So let's say that Balsam and Fur, to me, it is a little bit closer to Yankee Candle's Mistletoe than it is Balsam and Fur. But regardless, uh, it predates Balsam and Cedar. All right, this is interesting. I really like the thing I got going on here. There's a lot of candles on my desk here. So 2004, as I said, we saw the release of Balsam and Cedar. And you know what? Let's just put this one on pause and let me pull out this one. What did I do with it? Right here. Yeah. Look at that wax. Come on. Come on. I don't know. Is it supposed to look like that? I think it is. That is a dark, dark. Look at that. I mean, it looks like it's just a bunch of green juice inside this jar. I don't think that's because of age. I think that this was um, poured to be a little bit darker. But how old is this guy? This is not old. This is a 2005 Black Band Balsam and Cedar candle. So just a year after it was initially released. Let's give this a sniff and see what's going on. Ooh, balsam and cedar. Now we have to talk about, right? First thing, do they smell the same? Is there an evolution to Yankee Candle scents? Like you have to factor in, well, this is an old candle. This is relatively new. Not really, but it's much newer. Um, so you have to factor in how it ages, but also, you would imagine that year after year, Yankee Candle, especially back in the day, was going to be, taking out the kinks, fixing a few things in their recipes that maybe they thought, well, maybe it was a little bit too aggressive in the spice or the wood. Maybe we should bring it and make it a little bit more sweet. And I think balsam and cedar, even though I don't really have a huge collection, like a retrospective where I can smell it throughout the years, yeah, I feel like just like Witch's Brew, balsam and cedar, as the years go on, become a little bit sweeter. And, the aggressive, what we call pine scent, a lot of people, when maybe they don't think too much about fragrance, home fragrance. And when they think of pine trees, sometimes they think of, the little pine trees that we hang inside of our vehicles. So I know a lot of people have a prejudice against pine right from the get-go. So I do feel like as balsam and cedar has gotten older, it's become a little bit more sweet, syrupy sweet, more of the sap, more of the citrus comes through, and a little bit kind of a pullback on the aggressive wooden cedar notes. But what do you think? And this older balsam and cedar, yeah, I mean, if the balsam and fir, old Christmas tree, not here. I mean, this is fresh. It is fresh. It is brilliant. Call it what you want. It's bright, meaning this tree has just been cut down. This is you cut your Christmas tree down, or you pick your Christmas tree at the local vendor. You bring it home. You smell your hands, and you got all that sticky goodness stuck on your hand, right? It's not really good. I mean, it's goodness, but it's a pain in the neck. But still, it's quite nostalgic and it smells beautiful. That's more what balsam and cedar is about. And this older black band is has a lot of soapy nuances. So if we can think, but don't take it too seriously, if we could think about, say, in the arena of Irish Spring soaps, that kind of pine, that kind of alpine, citrusy, wooden, somewhat masculine, as the industry would call it, fragrance of an Irish Spring bar soap or something to that effect. That soapiness, or even a lot of the green smells that we associate with, like St. Patty's Day, St. Patrick's Day, right? Very green, fresh, herbal, fresh vegetation, and actually a lot of floral. There's a lot of floral in that to make that happen, because we're dipping into a musky territory. Yeah, and it's just got like this bright berry sweetness. Just think of the tartest. Well, you don't think I have to think of the tartest. Cranberries are pretty dang tart. So, not like cranberry juice, but if we're thinking about like a really tart, not super sweet berry, but tons of acidity, that's kind of what's coming through. It's that it helps deviate it helps deviate balsam and cedar from other typical pine tree balsam candles. Let's try the relatively younger balsam and cedar. This one, wow, it really is not that much younger. It's a 2010. This was, what did I say, 2005. So 5 years later. Yeah. Wow. It's Certainly not as aggressive as if you probably pulled one off the shelf today, but it's really complex in a very nice way. One thing that I jumped to immediately when I smelled this version was this lemongrass thing. Again, it's playing off that citrusy components, the vegetation and the citrus, but it does have that strong, tea, lemongrass tea aroma, very green, very citrusy. The cedar in this one seems to be dialed down a little bit. Interesting. Interesting. But you get all of those wonderful, like, you know, um, I don't know. What did I do? I did something recently with pine cones. What I did was, I think, yeah, I picked a bunch of pine cones. I live on a property that's got an abundance. And one Christmas, what I thought I would do is like, what if I just roasted these pine cones in the oven really gently? Now, I know that can be dangerous, so don't try it at home. But under extremely low temperature, I just let them sit in the oven and toasted them lightly. What I expected came true. The aroma that put off into the house, woo, super intense. I suppose you could do the same thing with the tarpine, the sap that kind of coagulates on the bark of a kind of an older pine tree. If you rip some of that off or peel some of that off and put it into an old saucepan, one that you don't mind maybe ruining, and just start simmering that, man, you just created the best uh, home fragrance device as far as output is concerned. That thing, something like that, if you have enough of that sap, could fill the entire house almost instantly. But yeah, I mean, that's what I'm thinking of. There's something about I toasted those pine cones, it pulled out that really sappy, it's distinctly sappy smell of the pine cone or the tree, and that is pretty. And with those citrus, with those green notes, see if anything else comes to mind. There's not much of a spice to this guy. Mm, very cool. Balsam and cedar. However, we're going to take it back. We're going to take it way back. Because this retrospective of Balsam and Cedar is not over, baby. No, no, not quite. I wonder if, say, like, folks from college ever say, hey, well, I wonder what Shane's up to these days. And then do a little tap tap on their computer or their cell phones. And they see me talking so passionately about a candle called Balsam and Cedar. I just said, yeah, let's do it, baby. Let's do it. You guys probably get it. Maybe you don't, but you guys get it. But other folks, I don't know. I don't know. I wonder sometimes. All right. I said we're going to bring it back, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So not Balsam and Fur, not Balsam and Cedar, but this is a Yankee Candle, or I should say a Yankee country kitchen candle. That is quite old, folks. So there's a lot to just tell you about this by the visuals. If we see right here, do I have something else? Yes. So if I take another country kitchen candle, which predated the house warmer, okay, the house warmer was advertised as the house warmer. It really became widely available in 1995. But Yankee Candle did use apothecary jars in the 80s. Just wasn't called the house warmer. Now, 1983, if you can see here, this is a patchouli from the 80s. It says South Deerfield, Massachusetts. 1983 is when they cut the ribbon and the South Deerfield location opened. It was called the Yankee Candle Country Store. It wasn't called the Yankee Candle Village, but it was where they made the candles. most of the candles, and where they sold them, and there were satellite stores all throughout the Northeast. But before South Deerfield, Massachusetts, there was several locations. Too many to talk about today, but we had South Hadley, we had Holyoke. Holyoke was the original studio for Yankee Candle in the 70s. And the way you can tell if one of these country kitchen candles is really old, because that last one said South Deerfield down here, right? This one doesn't. It says New England. So once South Deerfield opened, all of the candles said South Deerfield, all the way until modern day, South Deerfield, Massachusetts. But before the flagship store opened, that's how you know this is at least a pre-1983, pre-Yankee Candle Village candle, and it's just called Balsam. I love it. These are really, really hard to come by, very hard, because it's 90s. They're still there. Maybe, I still have things. I probably still have canned goods from the 90s in my cabinet or pantry. I don't. But when we start talking about like early 80s, late 70s, trying to find something that's in relatively good condition and just frankly, it still exists, let alone whether it's been used or not, is quite difficult. So whenever I find one of these country kitchens that are a little bit older, I get excited. Balsam. What does it smell like? And how does it compare to everything else we just smelled? Look at the lid. It's another little tip. I don't know when those went away, these little plastic caps before the rubber gaskets or the plastic gaskets. That smells lovely. So that is really more in the territory of balsam and cedar. Yeah, I mean, that is not that dried out tree. It's amazing. I surprise myself with candles that are in my own collection sometimes regarding how well they age and stand up. This one, not at all in any way smells spoiled. Well, some people might disagree. It has more of that tang, but it's still sweet. It has that vintage Christmas. I don't know why I'm using my hand so much. The vintage Christmas decoration that I talked about on the Balsam and Fur. That's also something that we find in Mistletoe and like Christmas Garland. I won't lie. It has a little bit of a Crayola smell. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, that's the wax, but I don't know. I'm pleasantly surprised. I mean, we're talking about a candle, frankly. That's a good chance it's older than me. And it smells lovely and it looks lovely, doesn't it? Awesome. Yeah. So they had white decals. They're not decals, they're printed on the glass. I don't know what the technologies are there to do that. But they had the white decal or insignia, and they also had black for lighter colored wax. And it was a standard jar. All they did to signify one jar from the next was just put that little sticker on there. And it's funny because if you do some research on some older Yankee candles or older candles that were competing with Yankee Candle, they started doing the same thing. So Yankee Candle really was that candle company that kind of led the direction for the industry. Balsam by Yankee Candle. I was very happy with that find, that purchase. Let's read what you guys are talking about a little bit here. Morgan says, I'd love to see your comparison with Witch City Wick's Christmas Morning and Yankee Candle's Christmas Tree Candles. We can do that. I think we can do that. Come on now. Uh, I will find it. Of course, it's got to be all the way in the back. Why would it not be? Come on. Where are you hiding? Maybe. Ha ha! That's why I figured you out. I think. Christmas morning. I had at least two. That's not it. Okay, one more try, and then we're gonna have to move on. Aha! Ha ha! Found it. It's here on the floor. I know. I'm constantly reorganizing, folks. I really do take very good care of my things. And I love the fact that doing these lives and I'm pulling out all these jars because it gives me a chance to like dust them off, right? It's, it becomes a challenge to, dust all of these candles off. Come on. We'll talk about that Christmas morning in just a little bit. I want to get through a little bit more of the Yankees. All right, so let's move on to some others. I'm going to read some of the other comments. I'm fairly new to Christmas candles, but Goose Creek's cranberry and chestnut blew me away this year. I have not smelled that one, but it does smell lovely. I wonder if does it actually smell like chestnut, like roasted chestnut? Because that is always one of those things, like we assume we know, but maybe all of us don't really know what a roasted chestnut smells like. I'll be honest, when I first smelled a roasted chestnut and tasted one, not what I was expecting, but lovely all the same. Hello, Shane and everyone. Happy Thanksgiving to all in the USA. Happy Thanksgiving. What are you thankful for? Not everybody, not you, just you, Carol. But thank you. Nice to see you, Carol. And I like balsam and cedar and other fragrance forms, but for some reason there's a note in my nose that doesn't like in the wax form. I can see it. I can see it. Honestly, balsam and cedar, I will say this, balsam and cedar is a candle from time to time. I'll have it lit and I'll be like, yeah, it's time I put that candle out. Like, gets to a point like it's a little too much. Keep in mind that I don't really burn a lot of my candles in very large rooms. I usually try to keep it to medium size or actually quite small. And my apartment, when I must have burned hundreds and hundreds of Yankee candles. And the apartment I had for a short while in California, the last apartment I had in California. I mean, that place, when I gave the key to the landlord and they went in, they were smelling candles for months, if not years. But yeah, that apartment was a pretty nice size, but with these older Yankee candles, I would max that apartment out with the fragrance sometimes. And balsam and cedar was one of them. White Christmas would be another. A lot of those winter Christmas candles, like Season of Peace. All right. Mistletoe. So we just talked about mistletoe for a little bit. But let's explore a little bit of a retrospective of mistletoe. I got this one and I got a black band. This one, I have noticed, not only does age, probably for most not in a way people would like, it's still collectible to me, but also it has changed throughout the years. This is a 2014. It's so tough, right? Because you smell balsam and cedar and you're thinking to yourself, well, it can't possibly get better than this. Like the Christmas tree experience can't possibly get better than that. But then you smell this, you're like, whoa, it's nothing like balsam and cedar. Not nothing. but it's so different than balsam and cedar. And yet you're like, wait a minute, maybe this is more of the authentic approach. It's dry. It smells dead, man. And I love it. I love it. I mean, don't put that image in your head of dead Christmas trees. Maybe with the Witch City Wicks candle, but not with these. It's just that the wood really comes through. I mean, even to the point where I feel like I'm smelling a little bit of sawdust. And if I can throw in a little bit of a flourish on my descriptor there, just think of that slight Home Depot smell. Yeah, yeah. Come on, we like that smell. Home Depot is a good thing, right? A little bit of that sawdust, that aromatic from the lumber yard. I mean, that is for sure the overtone. But underneath it, there's more of a gentle citrusy sweetness underneath. So the wood really becomes the wood, the dryness, even we can say the biomass that we find in unscented, incense, unburned too. Uh, that really is the driving force. And it's I can't tell you the last time I burned mistletoe, but it's one of those that burns accurately to how it smells on cold. And I love these Christmas tree candles because a lot of people will just say, "Oh, it smells like a Christmas tree." But you put three different types of Christmas tree candles in front of a person, they're like, "Whoa, they're all Christmas tree, but they all smell different." And then you burn them in front of a person who's maybe not familiar with burning, a complex, well mixed candle, and you can see the excitement. Not all the times, but I've had several friends that I've converted into candle folk, and I love when they kind of discover, like, wait a minute, I'm getting more of, that pine needle. I was smelling like cedar wood before, super like rustic and austere, but now it's kind of gentle and whimsical. I love that because a good candle, as it burns, as it wafts through the air and does its little dance in your living space, it's really good when you feel the profile unfold instead of just being slammed with everything one time monotonously. I find the Christmas tree candles by Yankee they're really good at that. They're really good at that. Yeah, I mean, talk about that balsam and fur. Let me just smell that balsam and fir. Like, this really does smell like that box in the basement filled with Christmas decorations. How do I want to describe that? Sweet, sweet green, sweet green. Yeah, I mean, think of like snow peas, English peas, a sweeter green veggie, right? Starchy veggie. The balsam and fir has a little bit more of that vegetation where, yeah, I mean, what's really most aggressive in the mistletoe. I keep saying it, but it's the wood notes, it's the branches, it's the twigs, it's the wood chipper. Throw that dead tree into the wood chipper, but it still has a sweetness, just not in that sweet pea kind of way. More of a citrusy pine, sappy thing. I don't know which one. Really, if there could only be one, balsam and cedar or mistletoe? Come on now. Come on. Be honest. Make your choice. Put that in the chat area so I can see. Let's take a step back and look at an older mistletoe. No, I said that this one it ages. Let's just keep it at that. It ages. It changes quite a bit. I've grown fond of some of these older pines. Ooh, yeah, but there's funk, baby. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'm still smiling and I'm still excited. Why? I don't know. Am I a nut or is or do I just really like it? I think there's a funk, and let's be honest. All right? It's probably the wax. It's probably old. This probably should have been burned. This is 2004. This should have been burned 15 years ago, maybe, some might say. But if you collect like I do, right, you expect these things to age, and they're not. These candles, these old ones, are not for burning. They're for documentation. They're for archiving. And but what's interesting is just for fun is to if it's just becoming old and not smelling like it did, or does maybe even smell that good, like you can still interpret this smell and still tell a story. This does have a sour note to it. Sour, yeah. Like, uh, let's uh, uh, let's just say lime. Don't think of the actual zestiness of the lime. Just think of the raging citric acid, right? And the funk kind of comes in as if you imagine that citric acid and like lactic acid, like dairy products. So just think of like Greek yogurt and lemon juice. Like that's not a great combo. I mean, you could probably prepare that right in some way, but that's we won't get into culinary talk there. But yeah. But it's still that's kind of the experience here. And maybe you could kind of twist that. I'm really milking it here, but you could twist that into like a lemon meringue pie lime key lime pie, but I'm not going to go there. I'm just trying to try to say that sourness, if you really break it down, doesn't smell too funky, too off-putting. And actually, I think the Greek yogurt is a great description because it's that mild tang. But also, realistically, when do we smell Christmas trees and funk together? We're going to be talking about this a little bit later on another candle. The experience of actually chopping down a tree, or I mean, not chopping it, but cutting it, whatever you do, it's a tradition with some folks. I think I've done it with my father once, but I can imagine that experience of going out to an old familiar space. Probably by that time of year, it's covered in snow. It's selecting out a Christmas tree and getting your hands down into the dirt, right? And I love that. Like again, there's another Yankee Candle that really does this well, but it combines that soil, the earth, with the smell of the Christmas tree. And it just adds another dimension. And it opens up a brand new chapter in this pine tree, Christmas tree storybook. A new possibility. We're out actually cutting down the tree. It doesn't just smell like the tree, but it smells like the earth from which we pulled it or cut it down. Uh, and that funk that's in this candle kind of I think illustrates that a little bit. Again, this is for show. This is not for burning. Um, if you really want to burn an older Yankee Candle, I think that's cool. I think that's cool. I do it from time to time, especially if I find one that's already been lit. Then I don't have a problem burning an old one. But this one I wouldn't necessarily recommend unless you want to, just have a burning curiosity. So yeah, mistletoe. I wish I could say it smells lovely, but it smells like yogurt and lime. I tried. I tried. Give me a star for effort at least. But let's go into a different direction. Not a different direction, but yeah. Which one? Let's do this one first. Santa Claus. That was a very gross slurp. Remember this one? Christmas Garland. This was always an underdog. I- What do I know? What do I know? I don't know. I don't know. I just felt like it was. I think it had its fans. So when it appeared on the shelf, the fans purchased it. But Christmas Garland. I like the label, but I can understand. Like when you have all of these wonderful Christmas tree options, Christmas wreath, mistletoe, balsam and cedar. You know, yeah, I could see visually this not living up to it. But what's interesting about this Christmas garland, at least I think it's interesting, is it's it was always one of my favorites. It's always a pleasant surprise. It's a great one to have on hand when you're like, someone says, "Oh, all pine tree candles smell the same. Pull this one out." This this maybe this is not the best description, but the description I'm going to give you before smelling it is it's a great middle ground between balsam and cedar and mistletoe. It's not as intense. It's not as it's not as monstrous as balsam and cedar, and it has those drier notes from the mistletoe, but it's still very sweet, and it really is. It's a great. Oh, whoa, wow, wow, and immediately, I don't know if this is. Oh, this is interesting. This is a European candle. So I don't have the age, but wow, it has more than I remember. I mean, it makes sense, right? It's on the Garland. I'm sitting here thinking, wow, I don't remember this. This is weird. It has a cranberry smell. It's not usually something that would stick out to me like crazy. Yeah, it's not even cranberry. It's a sweet cherry. Like it's a really not really sweet, but a sweeter red cherry. That is fun, but that fruitiness blends into the fruitiness, the natural fruitiness of the Christmas tree. So I don't know. Maybe my memory is failing me, or maybe it's something that I really never sat down and addressed. I never did an evaluation of this candle. Uh, but yeah, it's just not aggressive, guys. It's a great way to put it is like if, and I get it. I just told you I had to blow out the balsam cedar every now and then because it's just too aggressive. Well, if you are someone in your family or whatever, uh, the Christmas the really aggressive cedar notes, the herbal vegetation notes, it becomes a problem up in this region with the migraines and stuff like that and the sinuses. This is a great place to kind of back off. It's still very powerful. It'll certainly be. I mean, they don't produce this candle anymore, so you can't buy it new. But when this was released, this was medium plus, a solid medium plus intensity candle. I don't use that word throw. Remember that? Yeah. Carry. Throw kind of combines everything. Too many things. Too many variables into one category for me. Um, but this was a powerful candle, but not one that was aggressive on the sinuses and the migraines. And Boner Jams. Boner Jams is here again. We haven't been formally introduced, but a huge supporter of this channel. Good afternoon, everyone. Shane, love the weekly live aromatic discussions. Quick question for everyone. When is the appropriate time to unveil winter/holiday scents to be burned? Thanks. I don't know what you guys say. Let us know. But I would say it's all about transition. Yeah. Yeah. It's fading in and fading out at the same time. So as autumn phase 3 kind of gently fades closer to closer you get to Thanksgiving. I just up I up some of the notes that we associate with distinctly Christmas, you know, the holiday season. So there's a few here that would actually work. Let me just pull it because I might forget to address this later. Balsam and clove, perfect transition candle, right? Because we have the warm baking spice, you know, from that bounty of autumn phase three. But we have the clove, but we also like star anise, and we even the what's right there. I'm not sure if there is a like a cranberry or berry note in here, but I'll smell in a second. But it really it starts with those Thanksgiving warm baking spice smells, but introduces the balsam. Transition. That is odd. That is really, really odd. This is not an outlet candle. It's a 2017. It was the year, that's the year it was released. It smells so aggressively cinnamon. I am legitimately concerned. What did I do? I think I have another. I'll have to cross reference that later. That is odd. I can't explain that right now. It surely, I'm not mistaken, right? That surely wasn't, I mean, there may have been cinnamon, but it wasn't nearly as aggressive as what I'm smelling there. Worries me, but also interests me because I wonder if the reason why that candle disappeared, and it was quite popular for the couple of years that it was out, why did it disappear? Maybe it didn't age well. That seems to sometimes happen. Ghostly treats, you know, 2013, huge, huge. I don't know if it's huge success, but a lot of people loved it. Where'd it go? Crisp fall night, not crisp fall night. That's still around. Crisp, crisp morning air. One of the most delicately beautiful, graceful autumn Yankee Candle smells, fragrances, and not so recent history. But they had to do away with it because whatever was in the makeup of the actual, I guess, the fragrance and the additives, the wax would turn a rusty brown. You know, I feel like that's the only reason why they would have gotten rid of it because everyone loved it and they pushed it really hard. Have you noticed that? Is there a fragrance a Yankee Candle fragrance that was really good, in your opinion, that was really, really good, but it just seemed to disappear quickly? Comments or the chat area, let me know. Um, Thank you so much. If I didn't mention, Boner Jams for the $9.99 super chat. Folks, these donations really, really help. What really also helps is you guys showing up and just viewing the channel. But if it's in your ability, in your power, throw in $1. It helps. It helps. Uh, can't let go of the pumpkin yet. I understand. I understand because a lot of us play Halloween early in autumn. You know what I mean? Like very early. I know some of you are burning Halloween stuff in August. That's crazy. But if not August, a lot of us are burning Halloween fragrances in September. My point of that is Halloween seems to be consuming such a large portion of the autumn season when it comes to our candle burning regimens. Um, and what happens is we get past Halloween and we're like, whoa, autumn is my favorite season of the year. It's just, I love autumn. I'm sure you all do. And you're feeling like, wow, I gotta hurry up because Christmas is, you know, it's starting to transition in. to the vibe of the world. So yeah, I'm very patient to break out my Halloween candles because I really want to make sure I'm getting in all of those wonderful apples, cafe smells, and the ah, even right now, I'll be honest, right there, it's a Christmas tumbler up there. But you know what's up there? Autumn wreath is in there burning right now. It still works. I just love that candle. All right. Boner Jam says, thanks everyone. I have apple pumpkin going in the kitchen while bringing out red berry and cedar. Nice. Red berry and cedar. I don't think I have that. Red berry and cedar in the living room. Felt I was rushing, but it's all good. It is. It is. I think you're doing the smart thing. Also, I don't know if you said it. You have one in the kitchen. Here's something. Yeah, you have one in the kitchen, one in the living room. I like this. I commend you. Um, because sometimes it's very convenient to put two candles, burn them side by side. And I think that there's definitely a time to do that, to burn two candles side by side. In fact, there's probably more reasons to burn candles side by side, to kind of do your own mixology. But I don't know. Do you guys separate your candles enough? Do you put something in the living room, one in the kitchen or the bathroom, the bedroom? Do you create that panoramic experience of aroma? Because that is really interesting. Especially if you're having like some kind of get together, party, or families over, and everyone's moving around. I'd love to do that for Halloween. I can't tell you. To me, it's just a kaleidoscope of not overly aggressive, aromas that are just tucked into one space. But you walk out of one space and you gracefully walk into candy corn, and you walk down the hallway, and you're shocked by witch's brew. I don't know. I'm getting excited here. Um, let's see. I'm loving all the comments here, guys. I'm just trying to get through to see if there's anything that I can answer. Um, okay, cool. You guys are great. Christmas Garland. Am I alone with my like for Christmas Garland? Yeah, I'm using my shirt to dust these puppies off. Nancy with the $10 super chat. How you doing, Nancy? I got to see Nancy again this year at the Yankee Candle Village for their Halloween preview party. It was a wonderful experience. I hope you had a great time, Nancy. You seemed like you were having a good time. We talked about this candle. And Nancy, I apologize. Thank you for your contribution. I really do appreciate it, Nancy. Thank you. Christmas Wreath. When were we talking about this? Someone was bringing up the whole concept of the cat urea or cat urine, cat pee pee aroma that's in this candle. Yeah, I think some people do really get it a lot. I think most people can probably recognize the smell of cat pee in something like this. But most people is like, oh, it's like my mind doesn't go there. I think we're all a little bit different. I think some people really gravitate, whoa, when they smell that note. And some people don't. I'm kind of in the middle. But what was I going to say? Kind of in the middle. I forgot what I was going to say. Well, this is a black band of Christmas Wreath. It'll come to me, whatever I was thinking. A 2005. I thought my black bands, Christmas black bands, were a little bit older. I'm kind of shocked today that they're not so much. Oh, what I was gonna say with Christmas wreath, right? That cat urea, right? I mean, you may not like it, but I find it's still authentic. Like, under certain conditions, you're gonna be smelling a Christmas wreath and be like, oh, I also smell a little bit of that note of cat urea. It's just, I think, an organic compound that I can't explain, but it's got to be somewhere in the world of conifer trees. In fact, I'm not getting it all on this old one. I'm actually having a very difficult time picking up. Yeah. Wow. Hope that's not a disappointment to you folks. This is a very, very tired candle, guys. Maybe I should have clarified in the title of this video. I was people who are really trying to understand these different classics. This might not be the best to explore new burning possibilities because if for this example, like this one's, it's dead. It's not dead. It's very tired. I mean, this is usually a big, big candle. And I could sit and try to tell you what I smell, but it's not gonna do much for you, right? Christmas wreath. All right, maybe we've learned something about that. That Christmas wreath doesn't age more than 15 years. So burn it up. Burn it up. Bona Jam says we met the past few years at Yankee Candle Halloween kickoff, but I introduced myself with my real name. Forgot to bring you the shirt for my YouTube channel. Oh, I remember you saying that. Next year. Yes, next year. And um, yeah, I mean, I probably remember meeting you. I just didn't put the name and the face together. Those the Halloween launch party. I'm always a little bit nervous. I'll be honest. Like this year was the seventh year I was there for that Yankee Candle Halloween ball, whatever. The name changes every year now. And I was talking with the president of the Yankee Candle Village. What a title! What a title! Very nice gentleman, but he let me into the village before they officially opened for the public that morning. So I had full range to just photograph everything because I'm really, with these events, I'm trying not to actually photograph people without their consent. Like if I photographing large crowds and putting on YouTube, I really should be getting press releases, not press releases, a release to include the likeness of people. So that was one of the reasons, but it was just great. It was great to be in there and but I was nervous. I still like I always go there. I'm like, man, I got this. I'm so cocky, right? I think in 7 years I've done this. It's just as nervous as I was the first year. Really, what I mean by nervous, I hope he realizes, like having the camera like this in my face and projecting into the onboard microphone in front of a lot of people, a lot of them kids, a lot of them people who are having a good time and laughing and are very susceptible to heckling. Um, but I do it. I do it. Does a Santa have a name? Shanty Claus? I like that name. No, he really is Santa. And you got to say it like that. Santa, Santa. Emphasize the N-A. Kind of, what is that? Just ditch the T. Santa. Wish it could be more, but I'm a college student, says Nancy. Nancy, no. Everything, all of your support is always appreciated. No, his name's Santa. If you guys want to name something, we can take requests. Let's see. Morgan says the cat pee smell hits me hard. Yeah, I wish. I don't think I have a more contemporary Christmas wreath. Um, I should get one before the season is closed so I can share that because that's always a big question every year. It's juniper that smells like cat pee, right? I'm not sure, but yeah, that's probably a good guess. Uh, or maybe not a good guess, but that could be correct. Juniper, I'm trying to think. Juniper is in a lot of gins, like distilled gin. I'm wondering if I've ever picked. I don't think I've ever used um, like a cat pee thing on as a descriptor on gin, but Sauvignon Blanc is the big one, especially like New World Sauvignon Blanc from like New Zealand or California. That's that wine. That's when you really start to get like, whoa, that's cat pee pee. For all of you wine fans out there. All right, and Matthew, Shane, thoughts on Yankee Candle holiday lights? Hmm. I don't have it, Matthew. I know which one you're talking about, but I want to Google the image because when I see the visual, that actually does bring back a lot of memories. Holiday lights, man. I forgot about that one. I mean, unless we're talking about the. No, it's not like a repackaged one. I'll be honest. I'm not really paying close attention to what's going on. Huh. I just typed in Yankee Candle Christmas lights in Google. One of the first photos is my thumbnail for my Yankee Candle Village Christmas light video where I filmed outside at nighttime. It's a good video. I have a couple of those, to be honest with you. Holiday lights. Wait a minute. Like, I'm confused now. I wish you guys could send pictures. I believe there was one that looked very similar to Christmas Garland, but instead of the popcorn and the cranberry, it was like a twinkle lights. And it was kind of a 2010-ish candle that reappeared. But if that's not the one you mean, you're gonna have to refresh my memory. I'll have to get back to you on that one. You stumped me, Matt. You stumped me. Um, Nancy says I would love to see you do a wine review one day. I've thought about that. The problem is, see, when I lived in Napa, when I worked in the wine industry, I had so much wine coming to me, like for evaluation, but I had a lot of winemaker friends. It was a lot of gifting and receiving. Like I would send bottles of wine from where I worked to other folks who were associated with other wineries. So there was just a constant amount of wine coming to me all the time. And to be honest, the cost was like nothing. But when you work in the industry, it's amazing. The restaurant industry in general, it's amazing the free treats that you get. But the problem is now, if I were really to talk about like legit wines that I wanted to recommend, that'd be a lot of wine to open up for one sitting. Like that's a big investment, right? Like I don't mind dropping every now and then like $100 for a video, but especially Christmas wine pairings, there are going to be a lot of reds and specialty whites. So if I had like a flight of 5 wines to recommend, or a little like battle of the 5 wines, it could be pretty pricey. But we'll talk about that. And I've been thinking about doing a Napa Valley trip one of these days. It's been something I was thinking about for almost years. But one of these days, got to get back out there. Notes are praline and jasmine. All right, I'm gonna look into that, Matt. I really am. because it's on my mind. Why did you leave the wine gig? I like the questions. It's filler. Someone commented last week about, I forget the words they use, but they're like, I love how these lives are just, yeah, it's a clear sign that, I have ADHD, right? Because I've lost track of this whole live. I got all these candles. I have no idea where I am, but I like this. This is what I love, when I can just really stream of consciousness, just speak, and answering questions are always great. I will get back to the candles, but the question was, now I'm forgetting already. Why did I leave the wine gig? It's just it was time. It was time. I suppose like I was more interested in studying wine than I was, certainly more interested in studying wine than I was selling wine. I don't want to sell wine. I want to talk about wine, but there's really not a lot of job opportunities uh, that fall into that category, unless I wanted to. Yeah, I don't want to write for a magazine. Wine reviews. I don't like the word review. I don't like reviewing anything. Evaluating is different. Yeah, to me, it was the romance, it was the passion, it was the artistry of the wine, the making of the wine in the vineyard, the aging, uh, the whole process from beginning to end, and all of the stories that could be told. Why even a very modest $15 red wine could be deeply, deeply moving and romantic, and maybe doesn't even taste fabulous, but can move you emotionally because of its story in other ways. That was always exciting to me. What was never exciting to me was, I want to start drinking wine and I don't want to buy a bottle that's under $100. Nah, I just want to dump all of my money in very, very expensive wine. No, I was never into that. I was more, again, like, I know families, some folks in my family, on my dad's side of the family, who make their own wine, and they all get together as a family. They buy the grapes, I think in New York, someplace in New York, the Finger Lakes, I would assume, and or the Hamptons, and they bring the fruit. They press the fruit. They I don't know if they blend before fermentation. Probably don't. They probably ferment the grapes individually, and then they blend, and then they bottle. I love this. It's a way for them to bond, uh, and it really does include a very large part of the family. My father's side of the family. So you're not just drinking a tasty beverage that's going to go great for Christmas dinner, or just sitting on the couch, watching the fire in the hearth, right? You're getting a little bit of, oh wow, like my family did this. There's a story here. You can look at the photos of while they're making the wine. You could listen to the anecdotes that they have. And this just keeps going on and on and on. I could talk about this for days. Why some of my most amazing wine moments, like the light bulb moments, were not necessarily with very expensive wines. It was really more of the situation um, that made them amazing. So, yeah, I mean, if you're of age and you are interested in wine, anyone could be a wine enthusiast. You don't have to have tons and tons of money. It could be done for cheap. Just don't make the silly mistake in buying like a $9 Cabernet Sauvignon and thinking it's like maybe it's good. It can't happen. It can't. So yeah, I don't know. Why did I leave the wine industry? Yeah, what was I gonna do? I feel like it was a chapter of my life. It taught me a lot. I loved it. I really did, on page, explored the entire world on wine, and not just the page, but in the glass. I explored the world of wine, vintages, like vintages that I would never have the opportunity of indulging in today. You know, late 60s and 70s, 1978, French, Burgundy wines. Come on, man, and Bordeaux. Yeah, but yeah. That's it. I was kind of sad at first to leave the industry, but I kind of miss being behind the camera and doing my video work and my writing, and always been a little bit more of, uh, you know, I'm my own boss kind of thing, right? It's kind of weird for me. It's weird for me to have to show up at the same time every day or 5 days of the week at the same exact time. Like, I don't know. I like working on my own schedule. I've always been able to do it. So, uh, okay. Will you do some kind of live from Santa's Village or from in between road trip to that destination? I'm going to try. I'm going to try to do all of it. I'm going to try to do all of it. Yankees sugar cookie martini isn't talked about much anywhere. Sugar cookie martini. Yeah, that was a good one, wasn't it? The other one, a lot of people didn't like it, but I thought if they kind of like gave it a chance, they might change their mind. Was the eggnog martini? I don't know if that was the exact name, but I like that one. I'm cooking while watching this and just went to grab a bottle of wine to crack open and realized I have none left. Your descriptions, uh, uh, I guess what meant to be said is are coming at the just an inopportune time. Miss you, Shane. Who is this? Oh, is this Anthony? Anthony's in the house. One and only Anthony Messia. Please, if any of you folks remember, it seems like it's been a while now. The world misses you, Anthony. But Candle Cafe, uh, really, yeah, this is a very safe thing for me to say. Probably the one existing candle channel that was on YouTube when I started my channel in 2016 that really inspired me. I remember like putting on a bunch of his videos and I thought to myself, why is this so good? Like, why can I keep watching Anthony's videos? But if I turn on like other folks, I think they do a good job, but I wasn't feeling that kind of heartwarming, cozy, sit and drink coffee in the morning kind of experience. I think it was really comes down to spending time with Anthony. That's what his show was. It wasn't what candles he was talking about. He, sometimes every morning he would have a video ready, and it was like this very peaceful moment where you got to sit down with this gentleman, talk about candles, and just had a very positive, very bright, what's the word? Um, just intuition. And I think it's safe to say that we all miss you, Anthony, and we're so happy. I'm very happy to see all of your artistic endeavors unfold. Proud of you, buddy. Good to see you here. And you're getting some accolades there, I see, Anthony. Okay, let's get back to the candles, man. All right, so I'm not going to talk about all of these because we talked about them in previous lives, but I wanted to bring out, I try to grab as many green Christmas tree candles as possible. There's a lot of them that could fit into the category, but not green. I'm like, that would just be like a 2-week show. So balsam, sparkling balsam, very nice, very nice. It's still around. I just don't know how popular it is. I think it's one that really is a favorite based on the image of the cardinal. I believe that a lot of people have a very special place for the symbol, the image of the cardinal. I know I do. And I think that something a little bit extra exciting about it. But it is a very nice candle. It's more of that territory of green soapy green soapy. Yeah, it's kind of that St. Patty's Day thing I was talking about. It has that rich ambery, um, even sudsy, lathery kind of soapy quality with all of the wonderful elements of the tree, including the sweetness, the brightness, the woods and the saps and the needles. And it has a little bit of this cologne influence that I like, probably something in the form of vetiver. I like it. I like that one. I said I wasn't going to talk about them, but let's do a few more of these ones that I'm not going to dive in deep. The Perfect Tree. This was a UK exclusive, and to my knowledge, I think I'm correct about this. This wasn't released in the US with a different label or a different name. Um, I don't know why the US never got this particular fragrance, and maybe am I wrong? I don't think I'm wrong. I think my memory serves me well. What year? I can't remember the year. Okay, when did I say it? I said sawdust before. Okay, not sawdust, but wood chips, wood planks, like hardwood planks for the grill, eucalyptus, big citrus. Oh man, like a lemon lime, like there's like a hefty dash of Sprite or 7 Up in this. It's that syrupy, sappy, sweet, citrusy sweetness. Ooh, that was a mouthful. And some just gentle spice, and maybe some like medicinal notes in the realm of like root beer, sarsaparilla. But more, this is showing quite nicely, as you would say in the wine industry. It was actually showing a lot more than I was expecting. The Perfect Tree. Um, I like it. I like it. It's definitely a different take on the Christmas tree experience. It seems I don't really have a way of explaining this, but it seems contemporary. Does that make sense? Like just when I smell this and you told me this was like 15, 20 years old, I'd be like, I don't know if I believe you. This seems there's a brininess there. Yeah, there's a brininess, a little salty, salty. This does seem to be kind of a profile that screams contemporary to me. That's to me. That's for me. What is that? What is that? I think this candle would be worthy of a lengthy evaluation because there's a couple things in there stumping me. Oh, this is a beauty. In a Winter Wonderland, part of the Wonderland collection, originally released, was it 2015? And it came back 1 year, but then the license that they had just with the Sound of Music collection, the license retired, so they couldn't produce these anymore. I think they dwindled the collection down. Sleigh Bells, on the last year of its release, they just changed it to, I believe it was just a sparkling cinnamon, Yankee Candle sparkling cinnamon, just with a different label, which was sad because the original Sleigh Bells was this really nice, like red currant hollyberry experience. Oh, yeah, man. This is herbal and it's sweet and it's fresh. So there's kind of an herbal, a basil that bridges that licorice smell. So we're in that sarsaparilla, a root beer territory. Yeah, I mean this honestly, if they could turn this into like a holiday inspired root beer, it smells delicious. Like I would drink this after smelling it. There's a little bit of that warm, borderline smoky tree stump. Yeah, it's the if you smell the fire pit, that kind of, you know, bass note that resides in the fire pit, the fire shed, the wood shed, whatever we want to call it. Uh, like that, like this root beer. Let's call it a root beer, right? It's got the pine, it's got a little bit of the juniper, it's got that citrusy tart. I don't usually use this adjective, but I will say effervescent. I smell this. It kind of, it actually makes my nose awake. It has that little tingle. Uh, um, and if anyone's ever had like, is it called pine beer? Pine beer? I've had it in Canada, in Montreal, maybe Quebec. I can't remember. But yeah, I mean, it's a sparkly beverage. It tastes like pine trees, and a little bit of that lemongrass. Not a little bit, quite a lot, to be honest with you. It has that. It's like, a lot of these aromas are coming off as, should I use the word exotic? Yeah, like maybe not conventional, but when you bring them all together, it's somehow building this Christmas tree experience, or at least nearby a Christmas tree. Definitely an indoor Christmas tree experience, because there is that warmth of the association of the smoky from the wood, and there's a warmth. And I want to know, I'm trying to figure out what to call it. And I don't know if I can quite place it. There's also a good amount, I said citrus, but there's a good amount of zesty in here too. And it's weird how like orange zest, even, grapefruit or lime zest can bring me to the holidays sometimes. I think it has just something to do with, the ever-present navel oranges that are always around during the holiday season, or the box of clementines, the cuties. There just always seems to be that ever-present misting of citrus essence in the air because someone's peeling one somewhere around you. But in the hearth, I don't know, maybe it's the association of the orange in the stocking over the fire, and really nice warm spices, but not aggressive, not enough to really aggravate my sinuses. I haven't smelled it in a while. I mean, I think about this collection a lot, but it's amazing how if I just kind of single out this candle, I don't think I've really taken a close look at this one in a while. So here's one that I would still also call contemporary. But again, if you're just a little bit too shy of that aggressive, authentic pine tree, and you want something that's almost like a caricature of a pine tree. I mean, it does smell like pine tree, but there's a lot of other things in it to make it candy-esque, delicious beverage. I mean, if you listen to the things I said, this really is something that a lot of my descriptors fall into the territory of some kind of beverage. And yeah. Mulled wine. It has like a mulled wine thing too. I didn't mean to continue this. Yes. Not necessarily the wine, but the mulling. And it's probably that star anise that's kind of bringing me to I said the basil and the black licorice. It's probably not those. It's probably the star anise. That's a pretty candle. Do I have the entire collection? I do. But some of them have been burned. What did Anthony say? I got to read this. I miss all you guys. Those were good times, great memories, and I look back on it with much fondness. I've pulled back quite a bit, but I still burn, and all is well. That's wonderful to hear, Anthony. Seriously. Sean says, Anthony, Shane, and Doug need to do a Christmas live like they did for Halloween. Anthony helped me learn what things to burn in which season. Yes. He was very good at that. Is very good at that. Loved the burning this month and monthly empties video. He did a good job. He really did. All right. All right. All right. All right. Okay, we're not going to talk about this one again because we talked about it in a previous slide, but I had to pull it. Sparkling Pine, also part of that sparkling collection. Here's one. Oh, look, this is a very special jar. This was sent to me by these fine folks. Look at these beautiful faces, these wonderful holiday smiles in their flannel. And if you look behind them, you see my ghastly face, overexposed, very painful expression. But I see what they're doing. They took a family portrait in front of a television while watching one of my Santa's Village videos. That's hard. That's very touching. This was on. I opened this up. I usually open up all the things that are sent to me for the holidays, whether it's from viewers or family. And I do. I open them up on Christmas Eve. And I remember opening this one up with my mother at the dining room table, and she got a kick out of it too. This one, Magical Frosted Forest, has a little bit of a history. I believe the first year this sent, I don't remember the exact year. Probably 2011, 2012. It could have been a little bit older than that, but I'm almost positive it showed up first in what they called the Snow Globe collection. I wish I could grab them for you folks, but I mean, it would just be too long if I kept grabbing things off the shelves. There was, let's see if I can remember them. There was Magical Frosted Forest, which was green, and then there was Santa's Gumdrop Castle, something like that. And what was the white one? Oh my God, there was a white one. It was probably something like Jack Frost, a minty, marshmallowy, fluffy candle. Great collection, but it disappeared. And then I think well, this is a more contemporary one, but I think, yeah, because it did have the full label. So it would have been 2015. It showed up with a brand new label. And what a label it is. Look at that. Magical Frosted Forest. Again, how can you make this unique or original? Well, they did it. And I don't know, I read somewhere in the chat area, someone said something about cocktails. And that's such a great, great point that you guys reminded me of. I'm actually thinking back to a lot of my evaluations years ago, especially when Yankee Candle had the beverage collection. Kind of like, not, they weren't all cocktails, but these contemporary Yankee Candles, and this is a very smart thing. They do play by cocktail rules. It makes sense. If Yankee Candle research and development, they're sitting at a table and they're like, what mixes with what? Like, what's good? What's good right now? I think turning to the thought like, well, why don't we focus on cocktails? I mean, aren't cocktails all about the art of mixology and precision and balance of flavors and aroma? And, taking a step further, if you really look at the old school libations of, like speakeasy cocktails, like really classy stuff, right? That's an interesting thing for candles. To me, it reminds me very much of Yankee Candle 2016, 2017, 2018, right? It seemed like everything they were producing had a very balanced cocktail scent. And, because you have the citrus, you have the robust, the woody notes from like a bourbon or an oak aged bourbon or whiskey or anything, a brandy. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad I said oaky. There's a little bit of an oaky here. This is a very sweet candle, so I just want to get some of these other notes out of the way. I mean, we have that more of the balsam and cedar, fruity sweet Christmas tree, the balsam tree, and that cedar wood note, kind of dry too. You know, um, but this has such a syrupy sweetness that drives this candle. I just said, 7 Up and Sprite on the last candle, but you have to remember these are kind of built the same, right? And yeah, this is kind of doing the same thing for me. I kind of think of that, and I kind of think of that pine beer that I was talking about, but also ginger beer. That very what's a good word for it? I don't want to call it bitter. Let's call it a very firm texture. Um, we're not talking about flavor or texture here, but we're talking about obviously aroma. But the perception when you smell this, you kind of get that astringency. That's the word I'm looking for ginger in here. So like a hot toddy, we're building this hot toddy beverage. So let's start with a little bit of an elegant, elegant's not the right word. Let's start with a good quality Irish, yes, good Irish whiskey or a bourbon. No, there's no booziness in here. Just think there's that tanginess of the whiskey, but also really what it comes down to is the barrel aging of this beverage. So you have that wooden platform, and then on top of that, we have the junipers. So it's almost like a little bit of gin and whiskey would be a bad thing. Well, let's do this. Let's do a barrel aged gin instead of a whiskey or bourbon, but with cranberry, lime juice, some rosemary herbal notes, and yeah, just tons of yeah, sweetened up. Yeah, I mean, we could say just sugar, but let's keep it exciting. I mean, it's definitely that citrus, syrupy aroma of Sprite, or 7 Up, or Mellow Yellow, or Squirt. And you have a little bit of those spices as well. Not like the traditional spices, cinnamon, clove, nutmeg, but maybe a little bit of, I don't want to say star anise. And I also want to say root beer too. It's not that I am running dry of things to say. It's just that a lot of these do blend into each other. They do. But that is like it's Christmas tree in a candy shop, or it's a Christmas tree in a soda shop. There's something about it that's what's the word? It's just decadent in the world of sweetness, treats, Christmas flavored soda if there ever was one, or cocktail. The name of the candle is Magical Frosted Forest. All right, how many more we got? I can't believe we did get through a lot of these. I didn't think we would. And approaching 100 minutes. Now here's one. I think the last time I burned this candle was right around the time I did a video on it. And it was one of the first videos I did for this channel. I remember I was in an IKEA. Looking for like home decor of, I wanted something that looked like this. I didn't want the Christmas berries or the winter berries with glitter or like what's the flocking or anything like that. Like I wanted this translucent or transparent even ice on the berries. So I was in IKEA and I had this candle and I filmed an evaluation of it. I don't really remember what I said, but this was always one that I enjoyed. It's just so strong. It's so strong, guys. Um, and it did not last. This is the epitome of cranberry, red currant, and pine turned up to 11. And it does, if Nancy says was it Nancy who said it? Nancy or Carol said is the cat urea, the cat pee pee. Is that if that's from the juniper berry? Well, if it is, or whatever it's from, it's in here a little bit. Like it actually has, it's almost, kind of crosses between that Christmas wreath um, urea smell and I hate to keep saying this because I don't want to destroy these candles for people. I love them, but White Christmas has some people say they get a little body odor on it, and I understand. And I think both of those elements are in here. So like a white pine, maybe even a patchouli in here, which is an interesting thing when we start talking about Christmas. But really, it's about the enormously tart red fruit. Rhubarb, not a fruit, but like think rhubarb, raspberry, red currant, cranberry. That is nice. With just the reason why I brought this out is because it does have an overwhelming pine tree, classic Christmas tree smell in there. It's just it's going to be one of those wonderful contrasts of red fruit contrasting with the classic tree. More of what I would call, yeah, like a blue spruce um, kind of coniferous tree, which to me is not just Christmas. Blue spruce actually does remind me just as much of the summertime, like camping, being outdoors, hiking. Um, I like that one. Which year was this? 2013. I was there and I bought it. That candle was purchased in Santa Rosa, California. Here's one that has been around quite a while. I can't remember, to be honest, when it debuted, but it's had several updates as far as the photos throughout the years, um, which is cool because, it's not often that we see um, actual actors or, I don't know, subjects in in the photographs on Yankee Candle labels. It doesn't happen often. But yeah, it's kind of funny when they re-released this as a returning favorite several years back. They just kind of updated all of the clothing. They look very trendy now. But it's funny how very similar the composition is to the original. This one is called Christmas Tree. And I was talking about this earlier when, this really is that experience. If you want to extend the Christmas tree aromatics experience to outdoors and more specifically chopping down the tree, just like these folks are doing, they're dragging that puppy through the snow. How do they cut it down? Does he have a saw in his hand? We don't know. But what I would assume is at some point during this experience, there was an encounter with the dirt, with the soil, with the earth. You got to get down low to take that tree out. If you're chopping it down yourself, this is a great Christmas tree candle in the outdoors. Oh, all right. I'm into it. All right. So, yes, we got to get a little bit of that dirt. How is that done? How we're gonna make a Christmas tree candle smell dirty? We're gonna get some fertilizer in there? No, I think it's done in a very interesting way. Minerality, to a certain extent, is something that I don't often get to say when it comes to candles. It's very hard to get a really nice mineral um, uh, quality in a candle. I mean, unless we're talking about like a saltiness or something, but this has kind of a rocky, crushed rock smell with this really fragrant, very green, very alive, very fresh, saturated moss. Yeah, moss, right? So you add this crushed rock and this moss together. It's interesting how this works. I don't know if it does for you, but it brings me to it, those combination brings me to dirt. Why does it do that? Why do we associate that when we put those two things together? But yeah, I mean, it's got some intense mossiness. Like this is starting. I don't know maybe because this is a couple years old now. It smells wonderful. I would buy this right off the shelf in an instant. But it's almost reminding me of like a graveyard candle, like Which City Wicks, Holy Ground. It has that, you want to think grass, but it's a really strong mossy green smell. And with sandalwood, kind of yeah, an interesting twist on the wooden element. This is not necessarily cedar. This is more of a fragrant, elegant sandalwood. And it's got a little bit of that sour. This is really good. I mean, I can't imagine like if you're making a Christmas tree candle and you're like, oh, let's put moss in it. Oh, it's maybe a little bit of minerality, whatever that may be, whatever they call it, and a little bit of a funkiness. Like there's a sour, briny pickle. Yes, like a pickle thing here. If you really dig down deep, it's there. Trust me. Why would they take that direction? They have to be trying to illustrate this idea of the earth, the soil. And I think it works great. I really do. And maybe it's not best for, if I was a Yankee Candle associate, I'm like, hey, doesn't this smell like funkiness? Doesn't it smell like dirtiness? Doesn't it smell like crushed rock and moss? No, you don't want to promote it that way. You're using those ingredients to paint a portrait. And, I'm just pointing those things out because I'm trying to break down the scent, at least using my vocabulary. And I feel like they've done a really, really good job here. I've always said that this is one that no one talks about as much as they should, but I do find that it found a pocket of fans with this re-release. I don't think they still have it though. I don't know if they re-released it. Maybe you can find it in outlets, but definitely a risky take, but one risky by Yankee Candle, but one that I think really, really pays off. You know, Out of all of these I shared with you, if there was one that I would recommend, like if they were all still available and let's say that you'd never tried them, the one I would say, hey, look, if you know what a pine candle smells like and you like a typical pine Christmas tree candle, but you want to try something new, I'd probably, out of all of these, um, point my finger at this Christmas tree candle because it's really good, it's really unique, and it's actually kind of geeky. You could tell that it was somewhat made by candle enthusiasts, folks who legitimately uh, love candles. Let's read a couple more comments. I have some things we could talk about, but we'll wrap things up in a little bit. No rush. Um, we're vegetarian now, but this time of year we are tempted by memories of turkey, roast meat, main courses. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I was wondering if that was going to turn to a question. Yes, Valerie says earthy. Did I not say earthy? I probably should have started with earthy. That's the big blanket category. Um, I'm just laughing at something I'm reading in the comments. Oh, and I said that, Morgan, I would try the Christmas morning, didn't I? Where is that? I lost it again. Laura says, hi, everyone. You have a beautiful collection, Shane. Nice to see you again. Nice to see you, Laura. All right. All right. Check it out. Check it out. Which City Wicks? Christmas morning. And if my eyes don't deceive me, this candle is available again this year at witchcitywicks.com out of Salem, Massachusetts. Wonderful small production candle company. If anyone hasn't heard me talk about these folks, you probably haven't seen many of my videos because I seem to talk about Witch City Wicks all the time. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm. So it's interesting when we were smelling soy wax after smelling all these paraffin candles is that it's like, whoa, you have to really adjust because, you know, you're actually smelling the wax, or at least a lot more than the paraffin. But I think I got a good read on it. I mean, what necessarily was the question, Morgan? How it compares, you know, like from a burning standpoint, or what kind of category this candle falls into? You know, to me, this is very reminiscent of mistletoe. You know, it's more of that dried out, concentrated um, pine tree experience. Christmas tree. I keep saying pine tree. Um, it's amazing how sweet balsam and cedar is compared to everything else. But when people smell balsam and cedar, if say it's like the first candle they smell of the day, it's probably the last thing they are going to say is, "Oh, this smells sweet." But if you smell some of the other, like if you smell mistletoe, then you smell balsam and cedar. I mean, balsam and cedar smell becomes like smelling a candy. Yeah, this is. I mean, this is really, you know, very. I don't want to say typical because typical sounds bad, but this, yeah, I mean, this is Witch City Wicks in style. You know, like I don't think they have a Christmas tree candle or ever did that's really aggressive. You know, she's not afraid. Liz, the proprietor and candle maker, she's not afraid to uh, bring it back to restrict the strength of her candles, and I really commend her for that. You know, it's what's a good way of saying that? The go, you know, what I'm feeling is like this is a really nice illustration, portrait of the aromatic Christmas tree experience without really becoming about the ingredients. You know, and when I smell this, I'm not like, whoa, you know, that is very strong, a wooden note or spicy note, herbal note. Uh, you know, to me, this still feels like a homogenous. I think that's a good way of putting it. I mean, homogenous may not sound like it's a good thing, but it smells like a homogenous smell of a lingering Christmas tree. You know, I don't know why. When I smell Witch City Wicks candles, well, I do know why, but a lot of the time it brings me right to the shop in Salem, Massachusetts. And I can imagine walking into Liz's shop, you know, with the wooden floorboards and the vintage vibe, whether it be the furniture or just the construction of the building itself. And just, you know, it's kind of this smell. Oh, you recognize that it's Christmas because there's Christmas tree in the back, but maybe there's some aromatic knickknacks or products that are on the shelves or on the counter. Um, it's still like I don't want to say this. Instead of calling this a Christmas tree candle, this is a, you know, the smell of Christmas, mainly pine tree, while in like a boutique, right? So it's still environmental. It's not just the Christmas tree. And that's really because of the softness. I think it's just the sharp edges, the things that really make um, certain ingredients stand out are just softened up quite a bit. I'm just trying to pick up on something that may not be typical I mean, maybe a little of that cassia, or some kind of barky substance. That's interesting. That's interesting. I said barky substance, and now it's kind of making me think of not literally birch trees, but oftentimes when you have a birch candle, or like birch is in a name of a candle, it comes off like this, but I'm trying to figure out what that might be. Yeah, I mean, if this was called Christmas morning, like winter birch, I think that would be appropriate. I'm not saying that's a good name. I'm just saying it'd be appropriate because it is dragging me in that direction of um, a lot of these really good, like um, what's the one Bath and Body Works has? Uh, is it vanilla birch? Really like that one. And then yeah, I mean Yankee Candle silver birch. It's a very aggressive one. This one isn't that aggressive, but very nice. I would like to know the actual fragrance notes uh, on this candle. Yeah, because it's got to be a hit. It's got to be super popular because I think she's been making this consistently for at least 5, 6 years. Thank you for inspiring me to do that. But I think my nose is shot, folks. There does come a time when you can smell no more. Um, but I want to thank you all for joining me on Smell It Sunday live stream. Remember, if you guys missed it before, mugs, Christmas mugs, the Candle Enthusiast. And it says, we've got the Aromatic Adventures down here. And Santa Claus, I had a handful of these. And I said like five. I had 5 of them. And last week I said, email me if you guys are interested. And then I had a whole bunch of people email me. I'm like, wow, okay, I didn't think a lot of people would be interested. But maybe I should have a few more printed. The point is, reach out to me, candleenthusiast.com. Just send me a short email. Make sure that's a nice big bold cap. Say like, hey, mug. I'm just inquiring. I want a mug. I'll probably have to price it like $20, including shipping, for within the United States. So if you're interested, reach out. Like I said, I have a few. I will pick some folks who sent first come first serve. I'll ship them out. Do a little transaction through PayPal, and then if there's enough people who want one, then maybe I'll have I'll get more printed up. That's all I'm saying. Any way to help raise funds for the channel, support for the channel, support for me, for this channel, doing all this. I'm looking forward to it. I was gonna start complaining about all the driving that I'm gonna have to do because I do want to. I think I've said it several times. I'm gonna go up to New Hampshire. I'm gonna do my best anyway. That's a long drive, but I miss it. Honestly, it's one of the best drives year round that I consistently make. I usually don't leave in the morning when I drive to New Hampshire. I like kind of having a little bit of the day and then creeping into night. It's just something magical about going to the cabin that I stay up at in the White Mountains and getting there late at night. It's so quiet and it's snowing. One of the biggest problems is that I don't have access to a 4-wheel drive vehicle right now. So if I go to Santa's Village, I'm going to have to rent a car. There's just no way getting around it. And I was trying to do it as cheap as possible. But Morgan, thank you so much for your support. The $20 super chat means the world. It really does. We did good day with super chats, did we not? Very good day. All of this is going to help out extremely for these travels, and I think I'm going to save it, but I have some big news. Big news. Life update, if you want to call that. if you want to call it that. I don't know. I'll think about how I should unveil some of the news that is new for me in my life. But one way or the other, there will be a lot of moving around. There will be some planes, trains, and automobiles, so to speak. And hopefully that will all correspond with kind of a brand new, cool, different year for the Candle Enthusiast. As far as when we get really into January, the new year, and do more of the travel adventure videos. But yeah, so new things are coming, but I'm going to hold off for a little bit. All right, folks. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you, everyone, for your support. Other ways to help support the channel, other than coming here and viewing and spending time with me, because that's support too. But all other ways of supporting the channel, links going to be in the description below, including some eBay items. There's an eBay link in there. There's a couple of candles from my collection that are still available, and there will be more. So check that all out. I will see you folks soon. But until then, be good. And always remember to live enthusiastically. Have a good Sunday, folks.